Just a light tap. Welcome. We're going to proceed now to the regular meeting. If I could ask those who are here to stand for the national anthem, please. Municipality of Central Elgin acknowledges that it is located on the land of the McKee Treaty that was signed by the Wyandot and Anishinaabe nations, including ancestors of Chippewas of the Thames First Nation. It is also the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Attawandaronk, and Mississauga Nation. These First Nations continue to provide ongoing stewardship of the land and waters in the Municipality of Central Elgin. Council, any disclosures of pecuniary interest, please? Seeing none, before we begin, I understand there might be a last-minute addition to the agenda. Mr. McLeod.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, late this afternoon it was brought to my attention that a matter subject to solicitor-client privilege that is in the best interest of the municipality to consider in closed session tonight. The procedural bylaw does allow for the suspension of rules and regulations by a simple majority vote of council. Mr. Mayor, the clerk has a resolution to add the following item. Report CAO 06-26 from the Chief Administrative Officer concerning former hospital lands be added to the published agenda for consideration in closed session.
Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Watson, thank you. I think we're okay. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. If I could get a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the previous minutes, please. Councillor Griffin, Deputy Mayor, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Griffin, seconded by Deputy Mayor Noble, that the minutes for the regular meeting of council dated January 12, 2026, and special meeting of council dated January 26, 2026 be adopted.
Council, any questions or comments on the minutes? Councillor Watson, please.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I'm not sure if, but on the January 12th meeting, I was not there and it says I was in the minutes. So maybe you guys just don't notice me here at all. I don't know, but thanks.
No comment.
Just to clear that up.
Of course, you're always noticed,
Okay.
Councillor Watson.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can make that change, Ms. Leitch.
Just a slight amendment then, that the minutes be adopted as amended.
All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Delegations. Our first delegation this evening, I'd like to welcome Erick Karvinen, who's a manager at Watson Associates, who will be providing a presentation regarding the growth study report for the Central Elgin Hospital lands. If you'd come forward, virtual, is that correct? You're online, I'm told. So can you hear me, Mr. Karvinen?
Okay, perfect. I believe I'm online now. I assume you can hear me okay, Mr. Mayor?
We can hear you, sir. The council and I look forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, members of council, it's a pleasure to be here tonight with you. I understand there's a slide deck that's ready to be presented. Is it up on the screen, please?
It's getting there.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
It's up, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So I'm Erick Karvinen. I'm a manager with Watson and Associates, and I was the project manager for this growth study update that we prepared for the municipality of Central Elgin. So the purpose for tonight's presentation is to present our study findings to council. Next slide, please. So our growth study update provides a long-term growth outlook for the municipality to understand how the municipality is expected to grow and change over the next 30 years through the year 2051 with respect to population, housing, and employment. The study is an important foundational report. It is intended to inform the municipality's development charges background study, which is being undertaken this year, along with broader planning initiatives related to the hospital lands located at 450 Sunset Drive, and also other broader strategic initiatives that the municipality is expected to undertake in the coming years. The study is also intended to help guide decision-making and policy development more broadly as it relates to planning and growth management, urban land needs, housing, and long-range master planning for municipal services. Next slide, please. Over the past decade, Central Elgin has experienced a rebound in an acceleration in growth, particularly with respect to population growth. We expect this population growth trend to continue over the coming decades. We recognize the importance and the value of growth for a municipality with respect to the various economic benefits that it brings to the municipality as it relates to economic expansion and community vibrancy and the potential for an increased tax base. However, new development can also bring challenges with new businesses and new residents and the need to accommodate them through infrastructure, housing, municipal service delivery, as well as respecting environmental considerations. Next slide. So our study has looked at growth within a broader macroeconomic, regional, and local context, really examining those various key drivers and agents of change that are expected to influence growth rates in Central Elgin over the coming decades. We recognize the regional economic opportunities that Volkswagen's PowerCo battery cell plant is expected to bring to St. Thomas and the broader regional market over the coming years. And we can see that impact already in terms of the direct, indirect, and spin-off employment opportunities that it's bringing not only to St. Thomas, but also for Central Elgin. We also see the development opportunities of the hospital lands and the potential it provides for Central Elgin to accommodate future residents and businesses in this growing economy. We see the appeal of Central Elgin in terms of its quality of life and its appeal to attract new residents through the amenities and services that it offers existing residents and new residents alike. We are experiencing many changes in our society more broadly, and these have accelerated over the last 5 years in terms of technological change, such as automation, AI, and the transitioning to the green economy. And much of the changes we're seeing is also impacting how we live, work, and play. It's important as well that we consider how Central Elgin will rely heavily on immigration and net migration to fuel this population growth. But there's also recognizing headwinds economically from an aging population. And while we see some near-term headwinds on the macroeconomic front, we see the long-term economic picture for Central Elgin to be very positive over the longer term. Next slide. So I'm going to present now a few slides related to the findings of our population, housing, and employment forecast. Next slide. So we've identified that the municipality is expected to see relatively strong population growth over the next 25 years. at a growth rate of 1.9% annually over that period. This growth rate in population is going to be significantly higher than the historical average over the last 25 years of 0.7%. We expect to see the municipality's population grow from about 15,400 people in 2026, increasing to about 24,800 people by 2051. This represents about a 61% increase over that time period. Next slide. Now, of course, with population growth, it's important to understand where this growth is coming from. And there's really only two buckets or sources of population growth. It either comes through natural increase, which is the difference between births, less deaths, or then through net migration. And as an aging population, you can see the natural increase will be negative over the coming decades. However, this population will be driven by new residents through net migration at levels not seen in previous decades in Central Elgin. Next slide. Now, with all this population growth anticipated, the municipality requires housing to accommodate this growth. We expect housing needs of about 4,400 units needed between 2025 and 2051. We expect that need to represent about 165 new units built every year over the next 25 years. This is a level of housing construction that's about 3.5 times greater than that's what's been experienced over the past 20 years historically. We also expect the housing mix and the housing needs to be more diverse than in the past. So of that 4,400 units, we expect about 45% to be low density. So this would be in the form of single and semi-detached units. Medium density accounting for 39%, which would be in the form of townhouses, stacked townhouses, row houses, and about 16% of the housing mix represented by apartments. Next slide, please. Recognizing the economic drivers that I spoke to earlier, along with strong population growth, we also expect employment growth to be quite strong over the coming decades. The municipality's employment base of about 4,600 in the year 2026 is expected to expand by over 70%, growing to about 8,000 jobs locally by the year 2051, representing an increase of about 3,400 jobs over that period. This represents a healthy mix between population and employment, which is important when we plan for community development. Next slide, please. With respect to that employment growth of 3,400 jobs, we expect that employment across a wide range of sectors, including commercial. So this would be related to population-related sectors such as retail and related services. We also expect the institutional sector to be quite strong with respect to healthcare, education, and also the industrial sector being a very strong driver of employment growth, much of it being indirect and induced impacts from the neighboring battery plant in St. Thomas. We also expect employment growth in other categories, including work at home and no fixed place of work. Next slide, please. As part of our study, we also identified how the anticipated growth that I just spoke to will be allocated over the coming 25 years through 2051. We expect that the hospital lands will be a very important part of accommodating both residential and non-residential development in Central Elgin over this time period. With respect to housing, we expect the hospital lands to accommodate about 56% of Central Elgin's housing development over that period, representing about 2,460 units. Of course, other settlement areas, including Union, Port Stanley, Belmont, and the remaining areas of Norman Lyndale, as well as Lyndhurst, will remain quite important as well with respect to urban development. With respect to employment growth, the hospital lands will also be quite important, accommodating about 38% of employment growth anticipated over the period, about 1,300 jobs. Again, we also see a fairly diverse distribution of employment in other settlement areas, including Union, Port Stanley, Belmont, Norman Lyndale, the remaining portion, as well as the Yarmouth industrial and commercial lands area, as well as other locations in the municipality. Next slide, please. So to conclude, a few points. Next slide, please. Central Elgin, as I mentioned, is expected to experience very strong population growth, growing to just under 25,000 people by 2051. That's an increase of about 9,500 people, representing a sizable 62% increase. Due to the aging of the population, we expect net migration to be a key driver of population growth in the municipality. And while the municipality's population will continue to age, it will bringing in younger working age population will help diversify the demographic base of the municipality. Over the forecast period, to accommodate the anticipated population growth, the municipality will need about 4,400 housing units to accommodate the expected growth. And we do expect that due to the aging of the population and also affordability considerations, we expect that the housing typologies are expected to shift to greater densities of housing forms, including townhouses and apartments. As I mentioned earlier, we also expect relatively strong employment growth over that time period, represented by about 3,400 new jobs in a range of sectors. Next slide, please. So I think it's important that Central Elgin is well positioned to anticipate this relatively strong population, housing, and employment growth that's expected over the coming decades. This includes having notable opportunities to accommodate future development, such as the hospital lands, both for residential and non-residential development. It's important when accommodating new residents and new labor force to the community that appropriate housing, infrastructure, municipal services, and amenities are offered to accommodate these residents. That concludes my presentation this evening, and if there's any questions, be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Karvinen. I'll ask my council colleagues if they have any questions. Councillor Griffin.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. When I looked at the residential supply opportunities on page 27, I see that we're looking at about 10% of our low-density housing occurring in Belmont, and we are looking at a little bit of medium density, only about 30 houses. But when we were at their town hall earlier last year, a conversation that came up with a number of people was that they wanted deeply affordable housing, and they wanted housing for aging in place. And so to me, that speaks to having at least some small amount of high density so that you have that accessibility for those that need elevators and doors that open and things like that. And in place in rural communities often really does mean right there where your family and your neighbors are. Are there policy changes that you can recommend that help us to encourage that?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Chair. I think that it's a great comment regarding the diverse need of housing, particularly with respect to affordability. As I mentioned earlier, this growth study is meant to provide a foundational report to understand and guide future work. There's an expectation that the municipality will be undertaking housing needs and affordability strategies in the coming years, and that work would look at these issues related to affordability, particularly for lower income and more vulnerable populations in more detail, building on the growth work presented here.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, we appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you again. Thanks very much.
Thank you for your time. Good night.
Delegation number 2, Hospital Lands Official Plan Amendment, Final Policy Directions and Land Use Plan. Mary Lou Tanner, the Senior Partner at NPG Planning Solutions, will be coming forward to do a presentation, and we look forward to, is there someone presenting with you, Mary Lou?
There is Jeff Mosher from Lura Consulting, who ran the engagement on the policy directions, is also co-presenting with me. We'll be sharing some of the slides.
Perfect. Our welcome to you all. Welcome back, Mary Lou, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. And also joining us virtually is my partner in NPG, Marcus Letourneau, who is providing the heritage advice on this particular project. So if we could get the presentation up. So I want to begin by just thanking you for the opportunity to be here this evening. We have done a significant amount of work with your staff and the consulting team to get to this point in this particular project. As you may recall, we have had a number of meetings and sessions with you and the community and with the County of Elgin Council regarding this particular project. We began in January of last year with the vision workshop that we had with council and in developing your vision and guiding principles for the project. And moving forward into last year, we prepared the draft policy directions report, which we were here with you to present and shared with members of the public. We'll go to the second slide just as I'm moving forward through. And as part of the policy directions report, we had a very, very well attended open house in this room, and Jeff will speak to the engagement that we completed as part of the project. So this evening, we're here with you with the final policy directions report, including the draft land use plan. And as part of my part of the presentation, I will share with you some of the updates that we've completed. There is a report recommending adoption of the policy directions report and draft land use plan. At the same time, we've prepared the draft of the official plan amendment to implement the land use plan and the policies that will see the true implementation through future development of the hospital lands. The official plan amendment is a draft. It is not for adoption tonight, but it allows us to initiate the process with the agencies, with the county, and most importantly with the community about discussion around the particular elements of the land use plan, the changes that we've made, as well as the policies which people will be seeing, taking the policy directions and translating it into policies. We'll go to the next slide, please. Oh, I've been through there, so we'll go to the process outline. So as I mentioned earlier, we started in January of 2025, and we've done a lot of work through 2025 to get to the point that we're at today with the policy directions, final report, and the draft land use plan. We are continuing to work through this late part of winter and into the spring of this year, and it's our anticipation that we'll have the official plan amendment back to you this spring for final adoption. We'll go to the next slide, and I'm going to turn it over to Jeff.
Thanks, Mary Lou. So our first slide looks at the summary of the first round of engagement. The engagement is planned and has started implementation in 2 rounds. The first round was to introduce the project, the vision statement, guiding principles, and draft policy directions and land use plan. And it also gathered feedback on opportunities and concerns. Our second round will provide an update on how the feedback has been incorporated, present refined materials, and seek confirmation of the priorities to inform the draft plan official amendment. In the first round, extensive community and stakeholder consultation was conducted between September and November 2025, and it highlighted a broad range of opportunities, priorities, concerns, and ideas. The participation came from residents, local organizations, and stakeholders to provide valuable feedback on the draft policy directions and land use. The first round included one open house in person on October 8th. As Mary Lou referenced, about 130 people attended. This was done concurrently with an online survey that received almost 300 responses. And finally, following the open house, we did hold 4 stakeholder meetings looking at a variety of topics, including heritage, environmental, and housing from October 30th to November 6th. And that had 24 participants across the 4 meetings. In total, 453 participants provided input. And the engagement activities and promotion was led by municipal staff using a range of tools to ensure broad community awareness, including direct outreach, digital outreach, print materials, signage, newsletters, and media advertising. Next slide, please. And so we found 5 key findings and key themes from this engagement. The first focused on housing and affordability, as I'm sure you're aware. Participants advised the need for diverse housing types, including high and medium density options, seniors housing, and deeply affordable units to support current and future residents. There was also a lot of feedback around parks and green space. Residents expressed a desire for more naturalized areas, connected green spaces, protection of existing habitats, and recreation areas. There was also feedback focused on accessible and connected green spaces, protecting existing trees and habitats, and ensuring active and passive recreation opportunities integrated throughout the new community. Another highlight was the transportation and mobility, with comments highlighting the need for safe, walkable, and bikeable streets, enhanced transit connections, careful road design, and pedestrian-focused infrastructure. Another important factor was community facilities and services. Stakeholders supported a vibrant Main Street, local commercial amenities, community centers, and cultural heritage preservation. Finally, heritage and identity was an important highlight as well. Participants encouraged recognition of the site's legacy through commemoration or selective design elements while enabling change and redevelopment to support the future community needs. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Jeff. So this is the draft land use plan, and you will have seen a version of it in the draft policy directions report last year, as well as at the open house. And it is largely similar to the version that you saw last year, but there are some important changes. The first I want to highlight is the road connection coming eastward off of Sunset. Through discussions and some additional work we did on the built heritage, we have put a curve in that road to go between the buildings that have heritage designation. That road is needed to bring the servicing into the development for underground infrastructure, so it must remain, but we've found a solution that curves it between the buildings. The second change we've done is we've extended the downtown Main Street. So if you see that purple institutional use and then just look immediately to the right, you see something called the special policy area. That's for a future grocery store. We heard that that's really important, and we've looked at different options, and we feel this is the best solution that will also be in the first phase of the development. We also heard in the downtown Main Street the importance of parks and having a plaza space. So we've taken one corner of it out, and it is now a park space. So you can see that the furthest park to the right in the lower right-hand quadrant, it is somewhat L-shaped, and that takes the park and wraps it around into the downtown Main Street. Just north of that area where the yellow is, abutting the city of St. Thomas, we've somewhat changed the road pattern. It provides a more efficient layout for long-term maintenance of the road system and ensures that it's a great neighborhood, it's walkable, but it also balances that future cost with providing great service and great neighborhoods. The balance is largely the same. We have done some additional updates around natural heritage. And in the draft official plan amendment, we have also put in additional policies related to built heritage and the institutional uses, which I will touch on in a moment. We can go to the next slide, please. So the policy directions remain largely the same. There were changes to the land use plan. However, what we heard from your vision and guiding principles and what we heard through the consultation that was done in the fall was support for the key elements that Jeff had touched on, and also you had seen in the fall in terms of the importance of housing, the importance of mobility, connectivity, protection of the natural heritage system, managing constraints for future development, as well as addressing built heritage and providing the use of growth funding tools and cost-sharing agreements to ensure that the development does get implemented. We'll go to the next slide, please. So I just want to touch on some of the key elements as we've started to build out the policies for the official plan amendment, which is in the official plan amendment draft before you this evening. And we heard just now from Mr. Karvinen the importance of housing and the importance of providing a range of housing and increasing the opportunities for both medium and high density housing. So our parents have a place to move to when they want to downsize, and our children have a place to live in when they move out of our house. And those opportunities are provided through the range of housing with density thresholds. So what you see on the land use plan is what's going to be built, and there's guideposts in the policies to ensure that those densities are achieved and does achieve the form of housing that we want to see as well. There's certainly support for non-market or community housing within the official plan amendment and the policy directions report. This is an important consideration to provide the full range of housing, and particularly for people who are vulnerable in the housing market. We have provided a design of the neighborhood that has just about every house within a 15-minute walk of a park, and making sure that people have great streets and great routes for parks, including some walkways that have been added just to make sure people can have that direct connection to a park. And we strengthen the policies for housing. So there's an expectation that the densities will be built, and if a future developer comes along and wants to make some changes, there's going to be a higher expectation to justify that. We have provided provisions for additional residential units, and we have provided the broadest range of housing that we can, ensuring that that full range that we want to see is built. With the downtown Main Street, as I mentioned, we did make a change to it and took one block of commercial out. We shifted it westward so it could be the grocery store, and we changed that over to a park. We heard that people want a plaza and a gathering space, and it provides an opportunity for a more urban type of park or not. That will be decided at the time the park is built, but it gives that broader range of park and plaza. We also have included within the downtown Main Street that there will be commercial uses at grade. That is a requirement, and then a range of heights above, which would be an apartment form of housing, and that the street is the priority, so buildings will be generally at the street and parking will be at the rear. Go to the next slide, please. The Sunset Institutional Corridor is what we see outside this building here and across the street and further north as well into the city of St. Thomas. The institutional block is going to be at the northeast corner of Sunset and John Wise Line. It is an important consideration. The province has asked for retention of a block of land for future institutional uses. We've provided the broadest range of policy permissions in terms of institutional land uses, so housing, healthcare, public administration, the full range, and its use will be developed over time. And it's also important to understand that as part of the designation of institutional use, it also comes with a responsibility to deal with the heritage buildings on that property. That is a protection element. If somebody wants to try and purchase the land for residential, there's going to need to be an official plan amendment for that and a whole future public process. But as an institutional use, it does provide a range of uses that can be used for community purposes and gives the ability to have the conversation about the existing buildings. Cultural heritage and archaeology has been identified in the land use plan. There are 4 identified archaeological sites, 2 are settler and 2 are First Nations. The First Nations sites will be designated as Ontario Heritage Trust easement lands. They will not be developed, and the uses will actually be very restricted, and site alteration will also not be permitted. The province, as well as the municipality, has been in discussion with the First Nations and their interests on these lands, and those conversations will continue. I think it's important that we recognize that the municipality has a land acknowledgement, and across the street we have lands that have First Nations artifacts in it, and supporting their goals for those sites is very important, has been built into the official plan amendment. We'll go to the next slide, please. We have developed a community facilities and parks designation. It deals with a number of things. It deals with parks for sure, and the 3 parks that are in the land use plan. It also deals with the stormwater facilities that have been identified through the engineering studies. And we also have the community recreation area. It was in the light blue, turquoisey blue, and provides for future opportunities for recreation, perhaps a community facility, certainly for schools, and integrates that into the overall thinking around public spaces for people who live in this community. We provide opportunities for both passive and active recreation facilities. The draft official plan amendment includes a schedule that has active transportation and cycling infrastructure identified in it. So people can see that, there's a focus on being able to walk and cycle and drive through the community, but giving people who will call this community home the greatest choice possible. In terms of servicing, phasing, and implementation, we have identified a series of implementation policies. Just want to note a couple of key components. First, there is the potential for an allocation policy for water and wastewater. There are different ways to do this. We don't want to presuppose it, but we certainly want to be communicating to people that there is a potential for a future allocation policy, which will address how water and wastewater servicing will be paid for by development. And we require the first phase of the development to incorporate that east-west collector I discussed earlier because of the need for the servicing to be coming in from Sunset for the first phase. We'll go to the next slide, please. So the draft official plan amendment before you this evening is for consultation. So we would release it to the commenting agencies, the Conservation Authority, county, school boards, other agencies as required by the province, as well as start the phase 2 engagement on the draft official plan amendment. As I mentioned, we have updated the land use plan to include the grocery store and public plaza with the road amendments. We have also included a variety of maps. There are 4 maps and 1 appendix. They do different things. The maps are part of the official plan. The appendix is for phasing, and it informs how your phasing is going to occur, but it does give you a bit of flexibility if you wish to make updates through it as development proceeds and opportunities arise for you to work to achieve other goals that you may choose to have. The phase 2 engagement will be through our colleagues at LURA, Central Elgin staff, and our NPG team and your consulting team. Notices for the next round of engagement were released on Friday, giving people notice for what's coming, which Jeff will talk about in a minute. And subject to your decision this evening, we will issue the agency circulation tomorrow to welcome their feedback on this. The OPA and text and mapping will be finalized after we have completed the engagement, received the agency comments, and addressed all of that, and will be brought back to you and submitted to Elgin County for approval. And I just want to note as well that we've had good discussions with the county about the official plan amendment, gotten their feedback, which we have been incorporating along the way, as well as we are already working with them on the submission. So once the official plan amendment is approved, we can very quickly and immediately submit it to them for their approval, as the county is the approval authority. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jeff, who will take you through the last 2 slides.
So with the second round of public engagement, the process has already started and is looking to run until almost April of 2026. The municipality, Central Elgin, and the consultants will undertake a second round of community and stakeholder engagement to continue shaping the future development of the former psychiatric hospital lands. This phase of engagement builds on the feedback received during round 1 and focuses on confirming community priorities to inform the draft official plan amendment. Round 2 will accomplish the following. It'll provide an update on how feedback from round 1 was incorporated. It'll present a refined policy direction in the land use plan and potential adjustments for considerations. It'll seek input on specific topics, including housing, park locations, transportation networks, and community amenities. And it'll confirm priorities and gather final comments to support the preparation of the official plan amendment. Engagement activities for round 2 will include the following. 1 in-person open house again, tentatively scheduled for February 24th. 2 stakeholder meetings, 1 looking at cultural heritage, and 1 more general on housing and other topics. And similar to round 1, engagement activities will be led by the municipal staff and will use a range of tools to ensure broad community awareness and participation, again, such as direct and digital outreach, print materials, signage, newsletters, and media advertising. Additionally, project information, engagement materials, and updates will continue to be shared through the municipality's project website, where the broader community can stay informed and engaged as the project progresses. things. I guess I can. Sure.
So Jeff has touched on, as have I, most of what's on this slide. The only one I want to just draw to your attention is number 2. The Planning Act in Ontario requires a public meeting of this council to consider the official plan amendment. It will be March 2nd. There will be no decision made on that evening. It's a further opportunity for council and members of the public to ask questions and for us to receive input. And so we will do that, and then at a future point, likely in April, depending on the nature and extent of the comments, we will come back to you with the feedback we've received, the changes that we've made, and a final recommended plan for adoption. Mayor Sloan, that concludes the presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions.
My thanks to you, Mary Lou, and to Jeff for your presentation. Moving right along, as they say. Any questions or comments from council? Councillor Griffin, please.
Thank you, through you. I have 2 questions I'd like to start with. The first question comes back around to the last time that we talked about this plan. So the last time that we talked about this plan, there was talk about a grocery store. And at that time, I wanted to know more about the proposed interim uses for business spaces, because something that was described to us that I see here again in this report was that we would make interim uses that would allow small stores that provide food with the intention to bring in a grocery store later. And at that time, I asked whether we had a model for this that we could talk about, where those businesses would not effectively be cannibalized, where we would not be inviting businesses in with the intention for them to become redundant and fail. And I was told that the next time that we talked about this, we would have better details on a lot of different things. But I didn't see much more detail on that. So when it comes to interim use, how do we model that, or what wording goes into our planning that allows safety for businesses that are investing in this plaza?
Thank you for that. I think we were somewhat cryptic in our review, but apologize for that. The way that's done is in part through the zoning bylaw and dealing with the size of commercial spaces. We haven't gotten into that in the official plan amendment, and I wouldn't want to, because it really is a zoning issue. And when you're dealing with the size of the space, you're creating opportunities for different business models and innovation, but you're also creating a future process if somebody wants to take 1 or 2 or 3 of those spaces and amalgamate them and create a larger process. It is challenging to deal with the business market for as communities evolve, the nature of the commercial spaces can evolve as well for a number of reasons. But certainly what we've tried to do is establish the commercial location and it's shifted a bit, but also set the policies for that the commercial uses will be permitted. Ultimately, in dealing with the size of the businesses and the size of spaces to make sure that there's a place for small business, it is through zoning though.
Very good. You have a second question? Go ahead, please.
Thank you, through you. So my second question is about transit. So I see here in this report that there's a lot of talk about using land as efficiently as possible and keeping things compact where possible. And then there's also talk about deliberately planning in advance for transit that will exist in that space. I saw that 58% of the people that engaged on our different sessions wanted to see transit, and that you specified that that transit the public hoped to see early on rather than seeing it in sort of the end phases. So it makes sense to me that we would be planning for it at the start while we're laying everything out. And then on the other hand, our council in the last year voted not to explore doing transit on the Sunset Corridor, which would really be probably where we would expect to see that transit link up to, because 25% of the people working in our community come here from St. Thomas, and 33% of the people that work here or that live here work in St. Thomas. So we would expect the Sunset Corridor probably to be where that transit goes. If the council does not want transit on the Sunset Corridor, are we better to make different use of the space that was going to be planned to facilitate transit?
Mary Lou?
Thank you for the question. A couple answers on that. First, this is a land use plan to 2051. This is a transit supportive land use density plan. And that means that the densities that we have put in this plan will support transit. It is always better to put transit into a new community as it starts to develop because people get used to transit being there. What we have done is put the densities in place for transit supportive densities. We've put the commercial uses in place, and we've put a road system in that will support transit in this community, whether it comes in from Sunset, which is probably where it would come from, but there's also opportunity from John Wise or Fairview. I think, council made a decision, but it doesn't mean that in the next 25 years, there won't be transit or an expectation or a request from future residents for transit. So we've taken it as far as we can in terms of road design and land use, and then it becomes decisions of the community and council as to if and when transit is provided.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions, comments? Councillor Graham.
I have a few questions. Hi, Mary Lou.
Good evening.
Sorry, I was wondering if we could get or see the statistics from the survey. And I was wondering how you got the information, or did you write down the information from the open house when people came to the open house?
It was a bit of a combination. So through the discussions at the open house, we collected feedback both by taking notes of the conversations that the representatives were having, and also encouraging the community members to fill out Post-it notes and put them on the site plan map and other boards, and also by directing them to the survey as well. And so it's a bit of a three-pronged approach.
Okay, and so can you provide all that statistical information to us so we can see the feedback?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Sloan, it is an appendix to the draft official plan amendment. It is the Central Elgin Former Hospital Lands Redevelopment Policy Directions and Land Use Plan Phase 1 Engagement Summary Report. I have a hard copy. I'm happy to leave it with you.
Okay. If we can go back to round 1 engagement findings, the key themes. And I'm concerned about, when we do these public engagement open houses and with the stakeholders, and we get their feedback that the plan might not, you said you changed a couple little things about it, but so housing and affordability, it seems like people really want diverse housing types, high and medium density options, seniors housing, affordable units. So is there a reason why we aren't increasing that? With the cost of homes, single family homes, we have the Construction Association president saying that we have 60 by the end of 2025, we had 60,000 empty homes because people can't afford them. Why wouldn't we increase medium and high density and reduce lower density to accommodate not only the feedback, but really the affordability factor that we have, the affordability crisis that we have in Ontario right now?
Sorry, through you, Mayor Sloan, to Councillor Graham. So when we heard that feedback and we're preparing the revised policy directions report, we then translated that into the official plan amendment. So let me just walk you through the approach that we've taken. First, for all land use designations, so low, medium, and high, we have increased the densities. And from what you would typically see in a community like this. So the low density is higher than what you see on average here, the medium density is higher, and the high density is higher. At the same time, we've put in place a policy in the draft official plan amendment that if someone is coming forward to develop lands, they can't drop down in density below the minimum without an official plan amendment. We've also put in place policies in the official plan amendment in the low density areas that all units will be roughed in for additional residential units at the time of construction. It doesn't mean every homeowner is going to put one in, but it means that the rough-ins are there. It's easier to do it at the time of construction than it is to go back and retrofit it. And when we look at the splits and percentages of low, medium, and high density, this is a medium and high density community. And when maybe we can get the presentation back up and just look at the land use plan. But if you just look at the colors, There is more medium-density units than there are low-density units, and the medium and high together are the majority of the units in this neighborhood. You know, we've also provided within the institutional designation the ability to have affordable housing, attainable housing, in addition to the broader big public uses that are potentially there. And we have also included within the general housing policies the commitment to affordability, the commitment to attainability, and the commitment to ensuring that there is a full range of housing provided in this community. And the other thing that I really want to stress about this is that we have provided low, medium, and high density housing throughout the community. It's not a chunk of medium density and then all low density and then high density. It is interspersed because there is a neighborliness and a connectivity that happens when people who live in a community in different forms of housing have places such as parks or the downtown Main Street to get to know their neighbors, in addition to schools and community facilities.
Thank you. Just one quick sec. Sorry, do any other councillors have any questions? Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure if anyone else did. Thanks. Go ahead, Councillor Graham.
Do you have those percentages? I didn't see them on the report, but so the percentage of high density, the percentage of low density, the percentage of medium densities?
We do have it. I don't have it off the top of my head. I'd be happy to get back to you on that in the next couple of days.
I would love to see those percentages on the plan. And can you clarify to me what that means, a commitment to affordability? So is that like 10% of medium density, 10% of high density is going to be affordable housing, or what does that mean, a commitment?
The County of Elgin official plan has a commitment of 55% to affordable and attainable housing, and Central Elgin is required to conform to that. So that is the commitment.
And sorry, is that just affordable housing, or is that affordable housing and attainable housing? And what is each portion of, because that's a very gray area when you say attainable housing versus actual affordable housing?
Thank you for the question. It is a gray area. The County of Elgin official plan is the guidepost on this, and that 55%. And they actually refer to it as community housing, which is even less specific. From our perspective, it is affordable housing and it is attainable housing. We have not set targets for each in this official plan amendment.
All right. One of my other concerns is I see a lot of really straight streets. I was wondering, and I think you and I had talked about this at the open house as well, that why we didn't present other options for the land use plan. So I know that this is obviously a grid, but why didn't we look at something like the radiocentric, where you have like a central and then it comes off in kind of spokes, or look at, you know, different concentric zones or regular, or like give the public some options of what type of community they want to build. We have this opportunity here. I would have liked to see at least 2, if not 3 different options for land use planning, so that we could talk about and brainstorm a little more, rather than just having a long Main Street again. I mean, we've seen what long Main Streets can turn into in St. Thomas and London. And I'm not a fan of the layout of this at all. I would have liked to have seen something that had more of a, you know, kind of like a Goderich area, Woodstock, same thing, right? So like a main meeting areas, better for culture, better for walkability, which is part of what the feedback was saying as well, right? Safe, walkable, bikeable streets, enhanced transit connections, pedestrian-focused infrastructure.
Thank you for the question. We began with some of the constraining elements that we had. So the first is the connection to the county road system, and there are certain requirements for intersection spacing. So that gave us the pattern of connectivity to Fairview, John Wise, and Sunset. We then wanted to provide a connection to the Miller's Pond subdivision, But we didn't want to create a situation where it was becoming a car sewer, where people were just going to be racing down that connection to John Wise, which was in an earlier version prepared by the province's consultant. The grid street pattern was ultimately what we landed on, and we did look at the feedback about the radial street pattern and that type of thing that we received. In the end, however, I'm taken back to some of my early education and some of the things that I have worked on throughout my career. And it's a very simple, eloquent, but important principle. As a pedestrian or a cyclist, if you can see where you're going, you feel safe, and you will walk or you will cycle. If the street pattern is such that you cannot see where you're going, or your brain is confused because it's dissimilar to what's gone on in your community, you are not going to walk, you are not going to cycle, you're getting in your car. And so as we looked at the options for the road pattern, the grid street pattern delivers that more in our experience than any other street pattern. And that's why we retained it. It's not that we didn't consider other options, but with the constraints and what we know about what a grid street pattern delivers for walkability for pedestrians and cyclists, and with the arrangement of the land uses and the changes that we did make in terms of where there are gathering spaces, including providing walkways from some of the low-density residential areas to the parks, so you don't necessarily have to go out to the street. We have improved the walkability, and we've provided that visual connection that tells our brains walking and cycling is safe.
Thank you.
Just, that's interesting that you say that, because I looked up about 5 different studies, and they all said that the grid was the least safe and the radiocentric was the most safe. So, I mean, I don't know what to believe, but then, because if you're saying it's safer, but the studies are saying, like every single one of those studies said that it's safer for bicyclists, pedestrians, and that when people are driving your car on a straight road, you lose the ability for interest. So you're just speeding along on the road. I don't know. That's just what I read today.
You know, I wouldn't, through you, Mayor Sloan, I wouldn't disagree with you. But it's also about the design of the streets. It's how wide the sidewalks are, if there's a boulevard between the sidewalk and the street, if there's trees or not, what kind of cycling infrastructure there is. Sharrows are for cyclists, which is an arrow on pavement, is not great. But providing cycle tracks or cycling lanes with separation or a multi-use trail, those are all important solutions for transportation. The street design, you know, in terms of things we can do for street trees and bump outs and slowing traffic. There's all sorts of design things we can do to make sure cars are moving well, but not speeding. Some of those roads are long. We've had discussions with your public works staff about the importance of the design and things that you wouldn't necessarily deal with in an official plan amendment, but through the road design and the pedestrian realm design and the cycling realm design, there's an awful lot that can be done to make it a safe environment for all.
Thank you. I had a question, Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Mayor, I was actually excited to see straight roads because I think you can see down them a lot better, and they are safer. Like, the straighter the highway, the safer it is. And the opportunity to have a fairly square rectangular piece of land to start with, I thought was exciting, because you go to some places where the whole place was designed around a river or a stream or something, or a lot of gullies. It becomes harder to navigate. And I think the straighter streets, it looks safer, looks easier to find your way through there, to find the stores, to find the housing. Makes sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? One more, Councillor Graham, and then I think we're going to move along.
Just one comment related to the Deputy Mayor. So within all those 5 studies, they all said that the radiocentric was safer for exactly what you're saying about the grids versus the grids. So just letting you know that.
Thank you. And I know Dr. Google is very helpful at answering lots of questions, but I do want to thank Mary Lou and Jeff. A history of excellence and urban planning. We appreciate your involvement in this project. Thank you. You've engaged us from the onset with open houses, the opportunity to contribute. And I want to say thanks on behalf of council, and we look forward to continuing this journey. So thanks very much. Moving on to, excuse me. Would council still be okay for us to move forward CAO 0326?
Just for council's clarification, it's a report on the same theme as the presentation that council just received.
Head nod. I need if we're okay to move it forward, does everyone taking a look at CAO 0326? Moving forward, if I get a mover and a seconder then. Councillor Griffin, Deputy Mayor, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion for that reads, moved by Councillor Griffin, seconded by Deputy Mayor Noble, that the final policy directions and land use map set out in Schedule A to report CAO 326 be approved as the policy framework for the draft official plan amendment for the former hospital lands, and that the engagement executive summary attached to Schedule B to report CAO 326 be received as confirmation that community and stakeholder input has been considered in finalizing the policy direction and land use map.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Correspondence requiring action, BIA Board Composition. If I get a mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Connors, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Connors, that bylaw 2026-16, being a bylaw to amend the appointees to the Port Stanley BIA Board of Management, be approved in order to confirm the appointment of Jackie Valotaire for the 2022 to 2026 term.
Questions or comments? Deputy Mayor, please.
Through you, Mayor, I'd like to thank Mike for his contribution on the BAA, and we look forward to the appointment of Jackie.
Thank you to the Deputy Mayor. We know Mr. Mesh is a fan of yours and are welcome to Jackie. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. SE 10126, a special events application for Canadale Nurseries. Won't be too many more of these coming along. If I could get a mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Watson, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Watson, that the proposed special events application for Canadale Nursery Spring Kickoff event to be held May 2nd to 3rd and 23rd to 24th, 2026, between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. I will make note, as we did get formal recognition, that the Cannondales are selling the business, I think after 27. I do want to say on behalf of staff and council, the infant family in Cannondale have been steadfast in their community support of Central Elgin and the region, and I wish them the best in their future endeavors. Moving on to receive for information the Finance Committee the Finance Committee minutes from December 9th. Mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Watson, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Watson, that the minutes for the Finance Committee meeting dated December 9th, 2025 be adopted.
Questions or comments on the notes? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Heritage Central Elgin minutes. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillors Connors and Bachman, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Connors, seconded by Councillor Bachman, that the minutes for the Heritage Central Elgin Committee meeting dated January 26, 2026 be adopted.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, we're on to reports. CAO 100126, the 2026 municipal election, establish a joint compliance and audit committee. Mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Griffin, Deputy Mayor, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Griffin, seconded by Deputy Mayor Noble, that bylaw 2026-12, establishing an election compliance committee for the 2026 municipal election in accordance with the Municipal Elections Act 1996 as amended, be adopted.
Any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried, thank you. I understand Mr. McLeod would like to share, no? Oh. Okay. Thank you. CAO 0226, a growth study, municipal growth forecast. Mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Griffin. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Griffin, seconded by Deputy Mayor Noble, that the growth study attached to Schedule A to report CAO 226 be approved, and that staff be directed to rely on the growth study as the municipal growth planning framework for subsequent planning, financial, and infrastructure-related reports to council as appropriate.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. CAO 0426, the former hospital lands official plan amendment. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillors Connors and Deputy Mayor.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Connors, seconded by Deputy Mayor Noble, that the draft official plan amendment for the former hospital lands attached to Schedule A to report CAO 426 be received for the purpose of public and agency consultation, that staff be directed to proceed with consultation on the draft official plan amendment, including an open house and statutory public meeting in accordance with the Planning Act and Ontario Regulation 54306, and that staff be directed to schedule the statutory public meeting required under Section 17 of the Planning Act for March 2nd, 2026, or other such date as may be necessary to meet statutory notice requirements.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. CAO 0526, inaugural meeting date. A mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Watson, Deputy Mayor, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion for that is moved by Councillor Watson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Noble, that bylaw number 2922, the procedural bylaw, be amended to move the date of the inaugural meeting to the third Monday in November, and that the 2026 council meeting schedule be amended to add a regular meeting on October 5th, 2026.
Questions and comments for council? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Don, I want to thank you for that. I think the council agrees that that was something that should be done. It was far too long between the election and the ultimate date, so we appreciate you taking care of that, and you can see that with unanimous support. Director of Public Works and Community Services, PWCS, Drinking Water Quality Management System. Mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Watson, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Watson, that the 2025 Drinking Water Quality Management System Management Review Meeting minutes and the 2025 Drinking Water Quality Management System Infrastructure Review Report be received.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. PWCS 0226, the Little Beach Washroom Trailer. Mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Connors, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Connors, that the purchase of a 30-foot, 10-station washroom trailer be awarded to New Corporation Comac Corp. through the Canoe Procurement Group of Canada in the amount of $129,000 plus HST, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute any necessary documents with New Corporation Comac Corp. required for the purchase of the trailer.
Thank you. I see Councillor Graham has a question. Also, we were through this in one of the conferences, the group, right? We saw their product on display. So just mentioning that. Councillor Graham, please.
Through to Mr. Mayor, do we have an installation date?
Through the mayor. So in talking with the vendor, it's about a 6 to 8 week delivery. We're going to aim for, I would say, mid-April to late April. We have some site works that will have to be completed as well. So once the weather is a little better for us.
When do we usually open the washrooms at Little Beach? 24th of May, sir?
Through the mayor, as far as I know, it's around the Victoria Long Weekend. Yeah,
So it should be in time for that.
correct.
Okay, any further questions, comments? All those in favor? That's carried. Director of Planning and Engineering Services, DPE 0526, the Powers Drain request. Mover, seconder. Councillor Watson and Councillor Griffin, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion for that is moved by Councillor Watson, seconded by Councillor Griffin, that the drainage works proceed as described in the attached request from Jeff Davis, and that Brandon Widner, P.Eng. of Spreed Associates Limited, be appointed to prepare a report under Section 78 of the Drainage Act for the Powers Drain.
Questions or comments? All in favor? And that's carried. Before we consider the consent reports, I do want to take a moment. I introduced Mr. Andrews earlier to council. Mr. Andrews is our new manager of planning. He's so new that we don't have a name tag for him, but I want to say thank you, welcome to the team, and we look forward to working with you. DPE 0626, application for consent 44558 Talbot Line. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Watson, Deputy Mayor, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Watson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Noble, that the application for consent regarding 44558 Talbot Line be supported subject to the conditions outlined in Appendix 3 of Staff Report DPE 626, and that staff be directed to forward a copy of the council resolution regarding Report DPE 626 to the Elgin County Land Division Committee for consideration.
Questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. DPE 0726, application for consent 45587 Fruit Ridge Line. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Griffin, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Griffin, that the application for consent regarding 45587 Fruit Ridge Line be supported subject to the conditions outlined in Appendix 3 of Staff Report DPE 726, and the staff be directed to forward a copy of the council resolution regarding Report DPE 726 to the Elgin County Land Division Committee for consideration.
Questions, comments? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 0826, application for zoning bylaw amendment, 13-258415 Hobson Road. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Bachman, Councillor Watson, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion for that is moved by Councillor Bachman, seconded by Councillor Watson, that the zoning bylaw amendment application regarding 8415 Hobson Road be approved to rezone the subject lands as site-specific open space 1 zone and prohibit the establishment of residential uses on a portion of the lands corresponding to the retained agricultural lands on the subject property.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. DPE 0926, 410 Edith Cavell, Crown Homes, mover seconder. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Connors, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Connors, that the zoning bylaw amendment application regarding 410 Edith Cavell Boulevard be approved to rezone the subject lands as site-specific residential 1 zone to permit the development of a new residential dwelling with a reduced side yard setback.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. DPE 1026, award of a tender for Port Stanley storm sewer upsizing, the first phase. Mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Connors, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Connors, that Cassidy Construction London Limited be selected to complete the Port Stanley Storm Sewer Upsizing Phase 1A project at a total price of $3,125,316, inclusive of the contingency of $375,000 and exclusive of HST, and that the Chief Administrative Officer be authorized to execute the contract.
Questions or comments from council? Councillor Watson, please.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, to staff. How much did we figure the Phase 1A project was going to cost roundabout before?
The latest engineer's estimate on Phase 1A was in the neighborhood of around 4 million. So while we did expect that that engineer's estimate was high, I think we received really good pricing, and I think getting out for an early tender helped with that.
Thanks, Mr. Brooks. Thanks, Councillor Watson. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Look forward to that starting and hopefully being completed by early spring or mid-spring. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Can I get a mover and a seconder to move into close, please? Councillor Bachmann and Councillor Connors. Thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Bachmann, seconded by Councillor Connors. The council proceed into closed session at 8:20 p.m. in order to address a matter pertaining to litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
All in favor? Opposed? We're in close. Thank you.